Hello everybody. It's 4 o'clock. Our first meeting for the day, our first Insight meeting for this year actually. And I have with me Marcos Dreher. So say hello.
Hi.
So I hope you can hear us all. You should be able to see our screen with a wonderful PowerPoint and even 2 webcams. That's us, as you can easily see. So, what it's all about. It's a webinar that we have in mind for today, some 45 to 60 minutes. My name is Rainer Michaeli. I happen to be the director of the Institute for Competitive Intelligence, a training provider for vocational postgraduate training. And with me, far more important for today, is Marcos Dreher from a German company called BEKO Technologies. And we will tackle a wonderful, interesting subject, and this is strategy and competitive intelligence. How do they all link together, and what can we make out of that? So this is pretty much our topic for today. It's a bit boring if only Marcos and myself were to talk about that, so please feel free to help us along, ask your questions as well. This is unfortunately only possible via our chat function. So have a look in your panel. On our side, I can read it out for the others who can't see what you are typing, and then we can tackle these questions as they come. Feel free, by the way, to send questions our way anytime, so we're not waiting until the very end and then take on the questions. No, this should be hopefully more lively and more interactive, so we can work a bit with you along the topic. Yeah, but let's first have a look at who's there. This is, of course, Marcos Dreher.
Hello,
and I'd like to introduce or ask a little bit about Marcos to introduce himself. Now you should see his CV. And of course, wow, the first thing that sticks out to me is that you master 6 languages. Wow, that's Portuguese, English, German. Of course, I checked that already out. This is really Italian, Spanish, and some French. How come? How come that you really speak 6 languages?
Actually, it is not that complicated. I was born in Brazil, originally born in Brazil, on the border with Argentina. So that makes out 2 languages already, Portuguese and Spanish. My father is American. That goes for English. My grandfather is German. That goes for German. My grandmother is Italian. That goes for Italian. Now, French and Portuguese, they're quite similar. They're not so distant from each other, and they're just picked up along the way. So for me, it was a gift, I would say.
Wow, it's, I can tell you, bilinguals are pretty good, but 6 languages to work in proficiency, that's really, wow.
It helps traveling, I can tell you that.
And obviously you're a CI manager, you're working in marketing intelligence, so it must be pretty, well, handy to tackle so many sources in the native environment and really know in-betweens, i.e. translations or even interpretation of what it's all about.
Exactly. I think the advantage comes exactly what you said in picking up the between the lines message. When we are doing an assessment or collecting insights, sometimes not everything can be directly translated into German or whatever language I'm talking about. And being able to understand their native, that makes a whole different game.
Let's get to this point, because obviously we want to learn something about your experience in the field, so it's a good idea if we learn a little bit about your company. It's BEKO Technologies GmbH, limited in Germany. So what is this all about?
Okay, BEKO Technologies do not mix with BEKO, the white goods company from Turkey that do refrigerators and so on. In Germany, it's quite common that they mix one another. My company works strictly with compressed air as an energy source. We work directly in the compressed air treatment. So basically, everything that comes out or after the compressor is going to be handled by us. That includes filters, dryers, big machines, small machines, condensate management, etc. We are a global acting company. We have manufacturing sites in India, in China, here in Germany, in the States. We have offices practically anywhere in the globe, so we are 24 hours available regardless of the time zone you are. There's always someone from BEKO you can reach to. That makes a quite interesting environment to work in market intelligence, because especially strategic side, because different regions account for different necessities.
Okay, let's talk about your job. It's called marketing intelligence. Listen, not market intelligence, and research. So what's here the subtle point? So what is your function all about? Give us some understanding of that.
Yeah, I come from the market research area. Usually what happens, I think, as you know, here in Germany, most of market intelligence functions are conducted or are under market research belt. Very few companies really have market intelligence as a department. Coming from the market research side, I got into the marketing aspect of it, in where I'm going to collect insights, where I'm going to see what customers really want, what customers really need. The fact that I have a business background, it helped me to understand what the market really wants. So I am actually under marketing in my company, but I look into both functions. I look into the market requirement and I look into the marketing requirements. What sort of campaign we can develop, what sort of material is needed. That's from the marketing side. And then what sort of requirements in terms of quality, in terms of assessment, in terms of industry size in the market side.
Okay, so I understand this is pretty much a B2B, a business-to-business environment that you're working in?
It is heavily B2B, I would say. Some of our clients, for example, is Coca-Cola, Nestle, Audi, the car manufacturer, Bayer. We handle their compressed air. Usually companies, they are not really aware how important it is or what sort of quality requirement it is. So we come with our consulting body into these big companies and say, look, there is a requirement that you're not fulfilling. That's, for example, how we got Coca-Cola. We just knocked on the door and suddenly we are clean.
Nice success story, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, but your company size, that's what kind of dimension in number of employees?
We have about 500 employees worldwide and close to 100 million a year. So it's a middle-sized, family-owned German company.
And very much technology-driven.
Very much technology-driven.
I can understand now why we need a marketing function here. Okay, and this is pretty much, I guess, the starting point of really tackling our subject of the day, and this is strategy development. Give us some idea, well, it's of course not confidential, who are your competitors? What kind of animals are you fighting against?
We play with very big boys, I would say. One of these big boys is called Atlas Copco. Anyone that works in compressed air knows Atlas Copco. I would say Atlas Copco is for my industry what Bayer is for pharmaceutical. So unbeatable. Parker Hannifin is another big player. And then we go for Kesa, which is very German company, but globally acting. We have Boge. Some of my competitors are also my clients. That makes a very interesting environment because we sell, we have OEM products. Especially compressor manufacturers, that we have our products installed in their compressor directly as an OEM part. So sometimes my own client is my own competitor.
Which makes for a good strategy, I guess.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
So let's talk about this issue about strategy development now as a function within your company, and obviously now, given that you're the CI or the intelligence guy along these lines, what are your assignments like? What is your role like given now this environment, this sort of David versus Goliath environment, B2B and the global environment, right?
The main point for me is my company it's actually very successful in condensate management and had its first, we're going to touch the subject later, blue ocean product in the market, which is a condensate management, it's called, how do you call it, Kondensatableiter, condensate drains.
Okay.
And that was the most successful, it is the blue ocean. Now, until a couple of years ago, I would say, I'm with the company about 6 years, so until like 10 years ago, they were very strong profiting from the success. Therefore, strategy was a little undercarried. What happened now is they are very much interested in understanding which markets we can play, with who is playing with us in the market, what are the market requirements, which industries. Can you hear me? Oh. I'm just hearing your voice in the background.
Yeah, just the microphone switched off here.
And which market I can play, which industry, which requirements, and all these answers require research, require intelligence, and my sources are variable. It goes from the World Economic Forum, which I highly suggest people to take a look in their syndicated reports, which are very good and free, to, of course, primary research, where I'm going to go to the client and investigate myself what their requirements, what their needs are.
You mentioned already a frame almost. It's called Blue Ocean, right? We prepared obviously a slide for that, and this is something very specific. Maybe we can use this as an example of one strategy development frame, and then of course generalize later on about pro and con and the kind of when to use it and how to use it and what's your experience with that.
Okay.
So let's have a quick look at into this Blue Ocean strategy framework. Here's, of course, a slide with that already prepared for the audience. And then please fire away. What is your take on that? How do you use it? What's the good things about it? What's the bad things about it?
I think the best way to understand Blue Ocean is to understand its opposite, Red Ocean. Red Ocean is a market which is competitive intensive, which is filled with market players with very narrow terrain that someone could gain. Blue Ocean, on the other side, is where we're going to go where there is no competition. Or I wouldn't say there's no competition, but competition in this environment becomes irrelevant. You know? And the way they do that is they just break industry frontiers, industry borders, the way people usually think about. You have on the slide there Circus, Guy de Liberté had an idea of revitalizing what was then called Circus. Now they had Grimmie Brothers.
Yeah, and obviously in these days Circus was a Me Too operation, so any circus that did pretty much the same thing, have a few animals, a tent, pack everything up, move to the next place, and have people hopefully sitting on some uncomfortable chairs with some stupid music playing in the back.
Exactly.
So this was a circus format in a highly competitive arena, right?
Very much, very much. The core point of Blue Ocean, how Guy de Liberté used, is that you're going to look into 4 main actions, which means eliminate, raise, reduce, and create. So you're going to eliminate whatever is superfluous, reduce what can be reduced, increase what is regarded a customer benefit, and create whatever you don't have in there. So he looked into the Circus Act. For example, he eliminated animals. You don't see animals in Cirque du Soleil. He reduced the size of the circus. So usually people think that, oh, it's very huge. But when you go into the tent of Cirque du Soleil, you see that actually it's a very cozy, very small. You were much closer to the act than you are in a regular circus. You know? And he, of course, added a whole musical, I would say, quote, opera style to the circus act, and kept, of course, all the acrobacies, all the jugglers and everything. That was the core of circus. With that, what happens is that he attracted a clientele that until then was non-existent in circus. People that would go to musicals, people that would go to operas. Now they start going to circus.
Well, and obviously keeping some of the positive moments of the circus environment, like this family thing, artists, everything's a little bit different from the performing, well, TV acrobats that we can see every now and then. So it's a completely different entertaining experience for the audience.
And with that, he created then a blue ocean product. And today, of course, as usual, what happens, companies realize they are missing an opportunity in the market, and they are very reactive. Once they see that an opportunity is there, a company created an opportunity, they start creating something behind and trying to catch up with the lost time. You see today, here in Germany, there are a couple of circus acts, like in Phantasialand, an amusement park close to Bonn. They also have the same type of act as Cirque du Soleil, or here in Düsseldorf, where I live, they have Apollo with the same shape and form of Cirque du Soleil. But they can never, and this is something interesting, whoever creates a blue ocean, they will have this success for many years. Usually they say 20 years. Even if the market reacts and creates something similar, they will never be compared or comparable to the first creation, to the first product, to the first blue ocean.
Well, so obviously, by the way, now participants of this webinar are encouraged to send their chat questions, and I think the whole notion that we introduced already almost provokes some criticism and some kind of, well, fun to analyze in hindsight a successful business model, but is it really something that we can use to forecast, to predict the markets, and then go for this blue arena rather than going for this aggressive, very much cutthroat competition that we all know about? So this is pretty much the point in 2005 when Kim Chan, he's on the left-hand side, his book cover, when he wrote this book, that it was by all ways, all means, not really hailed along the scientific crowd of business or management gurus and scientific people. No, it was just another frame, to be honest, but it had a new charm. So it was sort of giving away some ideas that other methodologies as a frame seem to have not covered. But again, in 2005, he took the Cirque du Soleil and made it in hindsight analysis. The proof of the pudding, obviously, is that you can use it now for a company and go forwards, use it as a frame to develop new strategies. So two questions actually along this line. One, how does your company, BEKO, uses this frame to get into the new uncontested market space, i.e. the future products or geographical arenas? And two, obviously in more general terms, are you aware of any examples from the field where a company has used this blue ocean strategy to launch a new successful product?
Okay. How do we do? As I said, we had back in 1980, and back then it was not called blue ocean, we had the creation of a product that was unique in the market. We simply created a product, and with this we created a demand for the product. So this is also a core characteristic of blue ocean. What we are doing now, and that's the core of the presentation, is we are in the process of creating a second blue ocean. Usually the life cycle of a blue ocean is going to be about 20 years. We are reaching now the end of the cycle of the first blue ocean, and we are trying to create a second blue ocean, second product. And the way we do that, we are looking into our products, we are looking into our client needs, what they require, what they need, and we're going to try to create this value for the client based on our own industry, based on our own product. One thing that I can say, I mean, of course, I cannot go into many details into the product for strategic reasons for the company, but one thing that we do is hospitals use a lot of air for operating rooms, for machinery, but the air in the operating room very seldom is controlled and filtered. I wouldn't say filtered, but controlled and analyzed, so people really see what is inside the air. We created a product that will analyze the air in hospitals, and it's becoming a big hit because there is no other people that other company that do the same as us, or at least not in this environment.
Appreciate this example, but now let's be a little bit provocative here. Why isn't it just innovation? Why isn't it just sort of you have something in the field and you're trying to make something better out of that?
I wouldn't say it's not innovation. It is innovation, but it's more than that. It's to be innovative. It's part of being blue ocean. The issue is I'm looking into the industry we are. I'm looking into my client, and I'm going further. I'm expanding my boundary. What I regard, for example, for me, my boundary is always the compressor room, and I'm coming out of the compressor room and I'm going to the operating room in a hospital. You know, so at the moment that I simply just break this frontier, it's no longer innovative.
So it's pretty much a frame of sort of being very creative, thinking out of the box, as you indicated.
Thinking out of the box, yeah.
Again, I sort of play the devil's advocate here. It looks more like an innovative. But again, I'm not criticizing your company. It's more the blue ocean strategy that I'm sort of, well, getting second thought here, was this really innovative? You had two examples actually from the field where this blue ocean frame was used to develop new stuff, and boom, here they come. I think everybody knows the why. This console, a handheld console, pretty much fighting Sony's PlayStation and Microsoft's Xbox. So in a market where in 2006 when the Y was launched, was a Christmas season, remember, the market was taken. I mean, there were two big gorillas, a Sony and the Microsoft, fighting for this gaming or video console industry. Then already multi-billion dollars, obviously, in size. And Nintendo was a loser, a company that had been there even before Microsoft and even Sony entered with their Cube, I think it was called. So they're not really even new to the market. But they've been beaten twice with each generation, as they call it, of a new PlayStation coming. So why a success in terms of a blue ocean strategy? Well, it was a success, no wonder. But how could you explain with a blue ocean strategy approach the success? So turn it around.
If you think about video games, let's talk about Wii now. If you think about video games back 5 years, 10 years ago even, it was usually regarded as child's play. Very one-to-one or maximum 2 players. I would say very narrow field that you could do anything in there. Now, we came out and they decided to say that, okay, video game 1 is not for kids anymore, it's for everybody. So you had people 6 years old to 5 years old playing the same game, which you didn't have before. So your clientele, the boundary of your clientele just expanded exponentially. Then we go to the product itself, which it is not, video game became a lot more interactive than it used to be. So you're just not with a control in your hand, you are interacting visually with whatever is in your screen and having fun while you're doing that. So what they created is an environment where the whole family could play, where before usually would be only the kid in the living room, in their room playing the game. So now everybody is invited to play. They reduced how complicated. Usually the games for Wii, they're very simple to use, they're very simple to play. That's what makes it fun. And they added certain features, for example, Wii Fitness, where you can have your own gym at home, in a way for doing aerobics, etc. So the reason why it's a blue ocean is exactly because it got out of it is still an entertainment item, an entertainment product, but it goes beyond entertainment. It goes to fitness, it goes to socialization, it goes to interactive action between I and the product and my family. So it kind of expanded quite a lot.
It makes a lot of sense because if you recall correctly, if I could recall correctly, next generation of the big boys, i.e. the Sony and the Microsoft consoles, was all into technical innovation, like improvement of processor speed, better animation, maybe fancier sticks for the kids to play with, but not really, as you said, in something new. But it was similar in a way. So that might be exactly the point here, right? Find out what your competition does, what they are working on, and try to outsmart in terms of finding something new. Which again is sort of, again, a gray zone for me between innovation and leapfrogging a bit. But definitely it takes a good look at the competition, because if you're a small player and you're fighting somebody like a Sony and a Microsoft, obviously you wouldn't want to fail with a product launch.
An example we can give here is of reactivity is that not soon after we came out, Xbox and PlayStation decided creating these interactive games where you have a webcam installed and you can interact with your television. Yet they are still far, far behind in what Wii is, and that goes back to what I said at the beginning. Even if the competition gets wind of what is being developed and try to react to the market, seldom or almost never they will manufacture something that is to the level of the first blue ocean. In your second case here, you have Tata. Tata is quite simple. I mean, they looked into automobile industry and said, okay, what is a car? Who needs a car and what is a car? What's the car used for? And decided, for example, to eliminate all luxury features. So this Tata Motors, this Nano is utility oriented. So it has no luxury in there. So they reduced the type of models. They simplified the models. They simplified the materials. They reduced performance. So it becomes car is for me to take me from point A to point B. That's the message. With that, they raised, of course, internal. It seems nano, but internally it's actually quite comfortable. It's eco-friendliness, fuel efficiencies quite high with them, maneuverability, and the main point in there is people have an easy access to purchase.
Yeah, so it's pretty much down to something like 2,000, 2,500 euros. So this is really the low end of the car market, I guess. Yeah.
Because it is. I think the only thing close to or comparable would be the Smart, but the Smart is very expensive here. And again, that's exactly the blue ocean idea. Car is no longer a status, They took this status of car. They took this, oh, my car has so many buttons and features. They simplified everything so everybody could have it. So
which is
you were serving.
It's obviously true, especially for the emerging countries where it might have been the first car ever for some consumers who couldn't afford the VWs and Porsche that we usually buy over here, right? Okay. just joking.
I love it.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, the same notion is with the elderly people suddenly playing in a console because they need the gym exercising, fun of sort of having a social event within their group, and that's of course creating completely new customer bases, right? So here we go again, though. This would be the kind of rationale for this blue ocean where you do not have a competition coming up with an imitation or a kind of just marginal incremental improvement of what's there anyhow. Okay, so this is definitely two examples where we could talk along the lines of a philosophy of strategy development frames. Okay, but let's now drill back a little bit more into what's available as an alternative, because on one hand we say, okay, blue ocean strategy frame seems to be very good, but from your experience, and you're, as you said, course, quite some time now in your environment, in the strategy development environment active, what else could you recommend to the audience? And again, the audience could throw in now their favorite frames, and let's discuss a little bit where the goods and the bads are and what seems to be appropriate for a given environment.
What I usually say is that blue ocean is a tool. It's not the only tool. It's not the ultimate tool. It's a tool. It does not suit everybody. It does not fit all requirements. Now, what is the alternative to that? Of course, if I'm talking about a small company, and I go to the small company and talk about blue ocean, it's going to be like, what? I don't know. I mean, it's like shooting a cockroach with a cannon, kind of. There are several alternatives in there. I mean, to cite a few that is quite known, of course, Porter and the strategy pyramids. And I think the key point in here is that whatever tool a company uses, it has to correspond to suit their size, their market demand, their requirement, and answer their question. Here I think strategy takes a very subjective approach.
By the way, we have one question which could just point this out. There was back to the Tata Nano example, question, how come that this falls under blue ocean strategy? The first answer actually is that they claim that they used the blue ocean strategy frame to develop the Tata. So it's not us interpretation. This could have been something like a blue ocean, but it's published, so to say, a case study amongst others that is simply a blue ocean, well, textbook exercise to develop this nano car. Again, might be, as you just said, Marcos, a little bit of an interpretation in hindsight that it fits or not. Okay, but sorry for interrupting. You were just along the lines.
And as I said, a capital sin for most small companies is that they don't think strategically. Usually, strategy comes from the managing director, which most of the time they are the owner of the company, and he goes, I would say, with his guts, with his feelings, with his experience. There is seldom that you see in a small company where you're going to go and have a strategic department or a strategic consultant. For this case, I think literature is abundant. You have quite a lot of tools available in the market. But for me, again, what I say is to answer the right questions. And then answering the right questions means that the company need to learn how to ask the right questions. Because most of the time they don't know what to ask. They don't know where to go.
And is this in your company something for the CI department, i.e. for you?
Absolutely.
To help them finding the right questions? How do you do that? What kind of approach do you take? Given they are very engineering-minded Germans, so maybe not the most flexible, creative guys.
Exactly. Like, I am not an engineer. I'm a purely marketing person, market-oriented, strategic mind. So when they come with a product and they're asking me questions to ask to the market, I need to understand how they're going to use their answers. You know, they ask me question A, I'll give them an answer and say, okay, well, what are you going to do with the answer? And then very soon comes to the point of, I don't know. So, okay, what do you want to know? And you have hours to go backwards, you know. What are you going to use the answer for? You know, where the answer is going to be applied, what are you going to do, what are you going to do with the outcome, and then see if the question is right or wrong. I usually, we have long, I would say, battles in my company, because I'm not an engineer. And when the engineers come with questions that I say, no, this is not correct. You know, I think because of my multicultural side, I would say that's my German side. I'm very, I would say, direct in the sense of say, no, this is not correct. You know, you're asking the wrong thing. So let's sit down and discuss what would be the correct option in there.
Well, let's follow up on that. Especially now, you're a small company serving a global market, which is of course stretching resources to the limit. And isn't there in each and every market a different competition, or let's say even in some markets you're facing piracy, i.e. somebody imitating your blue ocean products? So this doesn't work by IP, by whatever means of market regulation that you can control at least what's going on. So how do you adjust to this kind of global market space with one product, one strategy?
I wouldn't say one product, one strategy, one global strategy. What happens by us is we do suffer piracy, especially in Korea, where I mean, I've visited China and I've seen products just like ours. If you go and you type condensate DRAM on the internet, 9 out of 10 is going to be from my company, but there are going to be a lot of very similar products with very similar design in there. Patent, well, you're going to go for 20 years until you can copy something, and as I said, now it's 20 years due, so there are a lot of companies copying the product, but their quality will never reach our quality, and that's the point. They can copy, and they will copy. That's no question. The problem is if they manage to go beyond my product and create something further, create something better, stronger, faster, whatever my product outcome is, then it becomes a problem, because my competitor not only looked into the revival of my product, my blue ocean, but he went a step further. He created his own blue ocean based on mine. This is very, very seldom the case, but it's a possibility, you know.
How much do you learn about your competitors when it comes, let's say, to proof testing your strategy? So you developed something with your engineers, and now it's sort of up to launch, and you want to check, validate robustness of this approach. How do you go about in a B2B technical environment like yours, especially now with Koreans, Asians, and maybe not too close to our culture guys?
My market is, I would say, is a very niche. Compressor is a very niche market. Now, I unfortunately don't speak Korean and I don't speak Chinese. So I need to set up, we have an office and a manufacturing site in China who then is responsible to evaluate their market in their, there's where language comes into question, and it's very important, because then you are able to read news, you're able to read a newspaper, you're able to read their technical brochures and understand to which point they're copying you and to which point they're innovating themselves. But how I understand, how I get hold of that, I usually talk to my people in China or in the local market where I want to investigate, and I pose them the questions they should ask. So in this case, it's very centralized. But my company is very centralized. It goes everything actually under my belt. And if I'm going to investigate a market that's outside my culture, outside my area, I usually going to forward them the questions and say, okay, investigate this for me there, see how it works. And of course, for competition is quite easy because, as I said, it's a niche market. Lots of the companies that we compete, they are traded in the stock exchange. That means that the annual reports must be published, so you have access to a lot of information.
Okay, makes sense, yeah. But still a pretty challenging job, I can imagine. Yeah, final question from my list that I sort of prepared a bit, if there's nobody from the audience coming up with another question. What do you see for the future of the strategy development business? Are there any new approaches or research done that will change the way we're working?
Okay. To be honest, I think every year there is something new. Every year there's something coming out. There is something on the horizon. There is a new trend. There is a new, I would say, buzzword that people are using. Right. This is immutable throughout the year. You just have to look at, I read quite a lot this Harvard Business Review, and you're going to see every year there's something that's just booming. Mm-hmm. Again, I go back to what I said before. I think it's not the point of the new trend being A or being B. The main point for me is what tool will suit my needs? What tool will answer my questions appropriately? So throughout the myriad of tools and everything that comes in the market every day, you know, I think the company has to go and take the time to understand, okay, is blue ocean for me? Is Porter 5 forces for me? Is the hyper competition something that I should worry about? So again, it's very subjective in a sense.
Well, quite often then you hire a consultant, and consultants are good at selling something old with a wonderful new flavor. And of course, make a lot of money out of that. Yeah. But the point is that you're stressing it's not really the consultant or the new gadgets coming up. It's more a company being able to understand what they need and then somehow implement, because it's not just theory. In the end, it's really about sales, as in your example.
Exactly. It's practical experience.
So swallowing the BOS, the Blue Ocean strategy, was it difficult to convince your peers, your colleagues, to accept a frame like that?
The funny thing is how I started is before we create Blue Ocean, again, you need to have a very painful look into the company and see where you are, where your products are, how your products are performance. Having a very soul-seeking exercise, and this is what was difficult, because of course it is not always pleasant when you go to the owner of the company and say, look, your product is not performance. And then the product manager comes to you and say, what are you talking about? So, well, it's not good. So, but that's what we are there for. We say the truth, you know.
And I guess here a competitive intelligence guy can always sort of play the cards of, well, look at our competition and quote from the success cases they've done with their launches. So I guess there's a need to survival, especially again, nothing wrong about that, absolutely. But you're small and you have few products, so there's narrow margin for error, I guess. So
there is no margin for error.
Well, I want to be very polite here.
There is no margin for error.
Yes.
So every decision has to be really well considered.
Yeah.
Especially in the size of my company.
I can feel that almost. Yeah. No, this has been very interesting, and I guess we're pretty much at the end of our 45 minutes, which we sort of initially said should be our target for today. Here is Marcos Dreher again, and the contact information, so feel free to touch on his shoulder. And of course, wow, what we've just done will be taped or is being taped now at the moment of time, so it will be available at our Insight Center. So if you want to re-listen and recheck what we just discussed, please feel free to check out what we have there. And yes, Marcos will be available as well in our upcoming conference, March 25th to 26th in Strasbourg. The International Competitive Intelligence Conference is getting there. So this is again a chance to link up to him and all the other practitioners as well as academic guys who will talk, present, work with in competitive intelligence. So I guess we have no other question coming up.
No. I'd like to thank actually everybody that participate, and feel free to write me up with questions, and I'll gladly answer them. There's no problem at all.
Yeah, so thank you very much for being our expert of the day. Everybody there, have a good time and enjoy what you've done, and go ahead with your competitive intelligence. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.